What's it like to quit your cushy job to start your own venture? Hello and welcome to the Fervent Four. Did you know that only 4% of businesses ever cross the annual $1 million revenue mark? Hello, I'm Zack Miller, author of Anomaly. With me today, my co-host Tim Ryan, lead man at StartWheel.org. Thank you so much for joining us. The Fervent Four is a weekly show every Thursday at 11 a.m. dedicated to sharing insights into growing a world-class business. Well, that question I just asked is exactly what the man that we are about to talk to did. What, 5 years ago, 7 years ago, something like that? 7 years ago, you decided to leave your cushy job and to embark into something that you had never done before. Yes? Am I telling the story right?
Five years ago.
5 years. Okay, so 5 years ago. But before we get into that, I think there's something that's really important that we should discuss. Are you ready for this? You have no idea what I'm about to ask you. Now you're a little nervous?
Come with it. Let's go.
Kenny doesn't get nervous.
Let's go.
So you were a pretty good basketball player growing up. What? Yes. Are you going to be modest about it? You played collegiately.
I played. Yes.
Yep. You've been a coach. What has basketball taught you about the kind of business world?
First thing comes to mind is discipline. We had a saying in basketball: if you don't practice, you don't get to play. And the same principles applies to business as well. If you don't apply yourself, you of course don't get to eat. So,
well, someone locally would tell you practice.
Yeah, that's correct. Practice, correct.
The great Allen Iverson line. I love that.
Yep,
so,
yep.
I mean, where do you think in that case, like that he was talking about practice versus that? Because I think what you're preaching right now is that the way that you practice, the way that you do everything is how you do everything, right? Mm-hmm. Or how you do everything is how you do anything. There's a line there somewhere. I think Tim said it before. But like, why does that matter? The discipline, the practice of it. Why do you think that matters in everything that you've done?
Well, because it takes a great stamina to, from the late nights to the early mornings to the grit and the grind to just to have a business nowadays. It's not what we all see on the internet. It's not something that we proclaim. We can just have a business license or in my case, just have a bucket of water and soap and say, okay, I got a business. It takes a great deal of effort, a great deal of practicing. I went from, basic washing the car to now we're taking off brake calipers and taking off wheels to improve the cosmetics of a vehicle. So if I didn't learn or if I didn't take time to practice, then none of that would be possible. So it takes a great deal of practice and a great deal of learning and watching on YouTube or talking to peers or what have you just to get to this point.
How do you feel you are now in terms of where you started, where you are today compared to where you want to be in the next 5 years? Or do you think that you're 75% there? You're 90% there?
I think I will say about 80% there. The 20% gonna have to come after this pandemic, we should say. But I'm about 80% there. In a million years, I didn't think I would even get this far due to, of course, the dynamics and where I am and as far as location, and as far as, some of the things that I had to experience over my time being at this current location. But, I'm excited to see what the future is ahead.
It's interesting you talked about how the business world that's kind of depicted online is just all glitz and glamour. It's great and it's not a lot of work and yada, 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 things like that. It's interesting that like people don't talk a lot about that. It's like Hollywoodized, if that's a word. It's not a word, but I just made it up. But like, it's like start a business, you're going to be great. Start a business, you're going to be rich. Start a business, you're going to have billions of people loving you just saying that you're, it's phenomenal and yada, yada, yada. Did you go into it thinking that it was
not
going
at
to be
all.
like that? No.
Not at all. Actually, man, I just tapped into what I call my God-given talent. I always washed cars. I always was doing something with a car with what I call with little to no effort. It started off as me being young. My Sunday ritual was to wash my Saturday ritual was to wash my grandmother's car. And by doing that, I kind of kept that same ritual as I grew older and had my own cars of my own. And, I was doing it every Saturday. I wasn't going to church every Sunday as I should have, but I still like to keep my car clean throughout the weekend, if you will.
Yeah, I'm curious, as Zach mentioned on the intro, you left your cushy job to go ahead and venture off into the unknown. Did you do anything beforehand? Because you and I have similar stories in the sense of I also left a job that I had and started my business. What did you do in preparation, or did you just go in one day and say, "I'm done. I've had enough"? And
No.
you start iShine.
It was the shipyard, right?
Yeah, I was at the shipyard for 8 years. For the 2 years of having my business, I did have my mobile unit. I was in Suffolk. I was running that for 2 years. Just kind of get my feet wet, to see what the market was like, see if I really can have a business that can go to the next level, if you will. But a lot of this whole things kind of started from, I'm gonna say, from personal experiences, personal experiences. One being I was trying to go into entrepreneurship to have more time with my mom, who just passed in December. And, I just wanted to have more time with her. That was kind of one of my biggest motivations to be in entrepreneurship versus being, working for someone. And then I was coaching basketball and I had tore my rotator cuff probably in the summer of 2015. Yeah, it was summer 2015. By this time, iShine the mobile unit was already started and born, which was in 14. And from there, I tore my rotator cuff and I was out of work for 2 months. And being out of work for 2 months, I kind of had to sit down and put some things in perspective. What I really wanted to do in my life, where I want to see myself for the future. And I didn't want to be at the shipyard anymore. It was just, a job. I mean, the money was great, the benefits were great, but it was just a job, and I was unhappy because initially, I am an ODU grad. I took engineering to be around cars, but unfortunately, when I graduated college, the Ford motor plant was gone out of Norfolk, so it was just like, hey, I always loved cars. Was the look, feel, smell, you name it. I just always wanted to be around cars. So being out of work allowed me to see that I really want to get back around cars. And I took some time off and I had read this book by T.D. Jakes, and it was one of those things. If I don't start this business now, I'll never know what it would be like to really start if I don't start now. And during the course of all this going on, I'm thinking about leaving the shipyard. I had a cousin that passed away in March of 2016. And, it was one of them things like, man, like she was only 33. I said, well, I'm 33. And if I don't start now, I'll go, something happened to me and I go to the grave not knowing what I could have done if I didn't start now. So I told my wife what I wanted to do, and I had to get her blessing first and support. And her goal was, hey, I want to move to Williamsburg anyways, but I was trying not to. I was going to risk run my mobile unit in Suffolk, and so she was like, well, if you want to, I want to get back close to mom. I want to have more kids, and we end up having one more. That's it. But being able to allowing her to see the space that was available. So I just made a phone call, and next thing I know, here we go. iShine is born. So
it's I remember going to that ribbon cutting.
Yep. So
what is that on Moore something road? What is it?
Mooretown.
Mooretown. Yeah. So what's interesting to me is how you got one of your first clients, if not your first client, something that so many people, even to this day, are still unwilling to do. And you just knocked on a door on someone that you, I think, knew to some extent, but you looked at their car and, well, why don't you tell the story? Because, I mean, you were there. I wasn't there. I'm just reciting what I recall you telling me from the past.
So this is when I was living in Suffolk. I was running my mobile unit, and this was my second client. My first client was a coworker of mine. He loved his cars clean. He was like, hey man, to get you going, to get you started, hey, I'd like to support you. I'm like, all right, cool. And he's still my friend to this day. But the second client came. He's now the owner of the Gourmet Burger Bistro in Portsmouth. And, he had all these cars out there. He has a Corvette. It was a Mercedes S550 and a couple other cars. I was like, man, he looked like he's approachable. A lot of cars in the yard. Looked like they're nice, but they was dirty. I'm like, man, you on a main highway, should be clean. So I knocked on the door. Hey, I'm Kenya. Hey, I seen all your cars out here, but they appear to be dirty. Can I clean them for you? Of course, we're getting the price, and of course, he wants the cheaper price because, hey, I'm a stranger knocking on his door, and I got a van and full of supplies. So he was like, yeah, go ahead, but I'm gonna give you this amount of money. All right, cool. Then he's saying, I'm like, yeah, okay. So that was also I was gaining confidence as well to say, hey, that I could do this. So then, of course, came more research. So just,
I think about you.
His restaurant is still open?
Yeah, but the Gourmet Burger Bistro, I believe it is.
Yeah, on High Street down in Portsmouth. Yeah, great place.
Yeah. I think about you all the time because my neighbor, they have a mobile detailing service. They must have a subscription because they're there, I don't know, once or twice a month. They're next door to have their cars done. And I don't know how many times I've been out to get mail from the mailbox, or if I'm coming back home from somewhere. And not once has this guy ever approached me saying, hey man, this is what I do. I'm already here. Never, ever has he done anything like that. It's just, I'm not saying that I would even do anything or take him up on the offer, but I always think about you and the hustle that you had to approach someone saying, hey, this is what I do. And, you converted that person into a customer. So good on you, man.
Right. Yeah.
Just, it's sad to see, it's just, man, the hustle. You got to have the hustle. And what a cool thing that I heard earlier this week was that hustle will beat talent when talent doesn't hustle.
That's right.
And, it's words to
Who
live
said
by.
that?
It was Jason Calacanis.
I should have known. But that's, Nate Schull told me something about 5 years ago. He also says, my man in all caps to you, Kenya. So Nate Schull of Swim Nerd, former guest, good friend of the show. Yep. He told me something very simple. He said a coach of his over the years said, work works. That's it. The WW that people don't talk about, not Weight Watchers, but work works. And, I feel like it's kind of similar to that. It's like,
yep.
Oh, things aren't working. Why? Oh, probably not working.
Yep.
Yeah, but so many people, they lose sight so quickly on the simple things, the things that are going to make business happen. At the end of the day, you got to stick to the roots of what it is that you're going to do. And when you do that, and stick to those core services or whatever that you're doing, man, that's what's going to drive business.
Right.
When you moved into the new location, 5 years ago, 365 times 5 is way too many days that I can count. Over 1,000 days ago, Tim was in his running streak at that point, where now I think he's in year 8. But you moved to a place that you didn't know a lot about. Right. You didn't have a huge network there. What were some of the ways that you early on were able to establish some new customers and getting some marketing out there for the world to know that, hey, iShine is open and we're ready to wash your car?
It was networking. I kind of use, my daily things of what I call just going by everything that I do, from, my kids' daycare, kids' school, basketball, getting involved with basketball, and, just really introducing myself to people, not being afraid to say, hey, I'm so-and-so, nice to meet you. This is what I do. And getting to know people. So I think I raised my hand to a lot of events and a lot of I guess things going on in the area. I kind of made my mark, and I still have a lot more work to do here because I'm still I call myself still the best kept secret. So but just networking. I joined the BNI groups. I joined. Currently I'm on a couple boards. And what else have I done? I don't know. I think I just network all the crazy, man. That was kind of like one of the biggest things.
Yeah, I'm curious. So you started with your mobile detailing unit, and then you said that you've transitioned to doing brake calipers and doing other things. I know that you also do, uh, gosh,
The film,
the film, but not the film, but the ceramic coating.
yeah.
So how has your business evolved in the sense of, were you following your passion and those are the areas that you wanted to go to, or is this more high profit margin types of things where you can increase revenue and profits based on adding those services?
It was a combination of both, man. Because it's kind of around the globe. It's kind of like if you have a shop, you kind of want to be the one-stop shop. And coming into 2021, I realized what was I missing as far as being that one-stop shop. And I already had the ceramic coatings. Only thing I'm missing was the film and the window tinting. And just having adding those things, it's kind of like and the detailing. You kind of like we all pretty much doing all customization in house versus subbing out or giving it to somebody else to work when all the money can stay in house.
So did you add PPF to the?
Yeah, so I became XBEL certified back in April.
Awesome, good to know.
Yeah.
So I'm interested in how you. Well, so I think when someone thinks about their car being detailed, their car being washed, they think about the drive-through services that cost, 20, 30, $40. That take, a handful of minutes to do it. That's not what you're doing. You have your services are significantly more detailed than that. They're significantly more expensive than stuff like that. How do you find the client that is looking for something like that, but then also market in a way that doesn't piss off someone when they think they're coming in and they're getting the Autobell of the world who's just going to come in and, because Autobell is like a 7-Eleven. It's like, okay, you go in, you get it done, you leave, right? With you, it's you drop it off. It's going to take a long time, but you're going to get it almost new again. How do you market towards something that I think a lot of people think of a car wash as a very different setting, if you will?
So what I do is I always say, we kind of like the plumbers. It's a job that you don't expect someone to really get dirty in. You don't expect them to go find where you have a leak at or things of that nature. So when you get down to detailing, we just like the plumber. We get down to the details of the vehicle. So I tell every customer, of course we're not like a car wash, which we're going under the seat. We're pulling out the seat. We're going in between the vents. We're checking the trunk. We're looking under the hood. So, like you said, that express car wash is just, running through a machine, letting the machine do the work. Whereas everything we're doing by hand, we get in between spokes, we get in between wheel wells, we sometimes even under the car, and down, like I said, even down to the customization to enhance the appearance of a vehicle, we're, that's all detail oriented. So, that's one of the things, like I always try to, inform them that, yeah, the services are higher, but, we are doing this all by hand versus having a machine.
Yeah, I think that a big part of that is you knowing who your customer is and who you need to go after, because the folks that want to go through a car wash, those aren't your customers. You're looking for people that truly care about their cars and want to preserve those cars.
Yeah, and it's full circle. Because some car wash people that has probably car wash subscriptions, they may go through a car wash, but then they say, "Hey, the machine scratched my car," or "Hey."
The thought of going through a car wash just makes my skin crawl. Just hearing you even talk about it.
You want to do that, Tim?
Oh gosh, no, man. What the brushes do to the cars and the paint and swirl mark, I don't know. It makes my skin crawl.
And then the car that's going before you, you don't know if there was a big mud truck that went through there. So, it's all above.
Yeah, this is one of the things that that I was interested in. We had a pest control company on before. We talked about their worst case that they've had, pulling out garbage bags of cockroaches and whatnot. I would love to hear, Do your customers have issue if you show a before and after picture?
Oh, well, I'm gonna be showing as we do this. So.
No, no, they don't, man. Because we've seen some stuff, man. Some stuff I don't even post. We've seen the blood. What appears probably was a murder scene before.
I mean, look how dirty this car is. The one that I'm showing on the screen. I mean,
how does something like that happen, Kenya?
You got someone that probably had either went through a flood, or either left the window down, rainwater got inside of it, or some type of water got inside of the vehicle.
I tell you, one of the things that that I would suggest and that I've done in the past, especially now, the used car market is super hot.
It is.
And to drop a couple $100 to have it detailed, you can increase the selling price of your vehicle multiple times.
Yeah, believe me, these cars that you see on here, not a lot of them, but some of them are cars that was being resold.
Yeah, I think that's just that would be an area that anyone watching this, if you're thinking about selling a car, I mean, that's just the return on the investment that you make.
Well, here you go. Look at this car right here. I mean, it's a mess. You're not going to get that thing fixed at Auto Bell. So what about in a situation like this, where like there is something that's permanent that clearly couldn't get up? I mean, is it just you give it your all and you can't do it in this situation like that?
Yeah, so a case like that, you got to understand that you get the age of the car and how the customer have treated that car in the past. We're not magicians, we're detailers. So, we just got to keep it honest with the customer. Like, hey, we can't fix everything. In a case like that, some customers say, well, I ask them, hey, do you want to dye the carpet? Do you want to dye the seats? No, it's too old. Don't worry about it. Because they know in our reality how they treat the car in the past. So I'm just the last man to see the car, and I go, no, I'm going to sell it anyway. So just clean it. So cases like that, that's what we get.
What
would be a company vehicle? Company vehicles, guys in and out, they don't really care about them. They just beat them and trash them up anyways, and they trade in the car or toss it down to the fleet a year or so from now, or whatever the case may be. So cases like that happen as well.
Interesting.
How has COVID changed your business? Do you still have the mobile detailing unit? Was there an increase as a result? How was your business affected, and where are you today?
Actually, COVID kind of, I would say, helped a lot. No decrease. We did have a 21% increase from 19 to 20. The market has shifted us from not doing as much mobile to more in-house, and that's why we have a lot of those new add-on services. But also, I found being more available to customers. So I had basically a landline in a shop to now have a cell phone, so I can get pictures, just more interaction. And I found that a lot of customers like that a lot.
One thing that I think is quite interesting is early on, you started using COVID to your advantage in some of your marketing, and specifically about the air vents, where someone gets in their car, the first thing that comes on is the air, right? So the heat or the air conditioning. And if that hasn't been cleaned, or it's dirty, or the filter in there hasn't been changed in any kind of frequency, you're breathing in garbage basically. And so with COVID being a respiratory virus, obviously you want to be breathing in as clean an air as possible. Was that something that you just thought of on your own? Is it something that you saw from a different market with a different how did that whole thing come about?
Well, COVID kind of just it's something that we've been seeing it all the time anyways, because you go to get your oil service, the cabin air filter is the one thing that gets overlooked. We get a lot of customers come in and say, yeah, they changed my oil. They said they changed the cabin air filter, but we go in behind the dash and we found it's never been changed. And a lot of people are like, hey, I got this funny smell in my car. Well, there you go. Your cabin air filter never been changed. So, we wanted to enhance that and make people aware that your cabin air filter is one of the most, important things of your vehicle as well, because you're getting all this funky smell in your car, or you trying to, get yourself cool off, but you don't know what's going on because your cabin air filter is probably dirty, and they said it helped with your gas mileage. So, just enhancing that kind of opened people's eyes, like, hey, hey, I maybe want to start checking this and thinking.
Yeah, I was amazed. I replaced our cabin air filters. And it was like, man, yeah, you don't realize all the stuff that gets caught in that thing, man. All the little fuzzy things floating through the air, and
Yep. We've seen mouse droppings in there. We've seen
man,
little critters, and we've seen of course, tree debris, everything, just inside of that one little compartment.
that's crazy. What? So what is some free advice to listeners? What is the most important thing that they can do to preserve the value of their car?
It's easy, man. Just wash it and just keep it clean. I'm not a big advocate of saying don't go through the car wash, but I mean, I actually love it because you end up coming right back to me. But the biggest thing, just maintain it. I mean, you take your car in for service every 3,000 miles. At least having the car washed.
Is there a recommendation on how often you should have your car waxed? I mean, especially the sun around here is just brutal.
Yeah, well, the new term is not wax; it's ceramic coating, Tim. So, we recommend at least 3 to 6 months. That's usually what the term for wax. But going into ceramic coating, it keeps it cleaner longer. But the key is the customer has to maintain the vehicle. And, that's kind of been a struggle for everyone, not just maintaining it. They think the ceramic coating stuff is bulletproof, but, it's not. It still requires some maintenance. So
has paint quality on cars changed with auto manufacturers?
Yes. And specifically your Tesla is one of them.
That's why I got
the paint isn't.
It's a softer paint.
Yeah, softer paint, but also the quality is not there. There's a lot of imperfection that comes out of the factory from Tesla.
Interesting. So 5 years ago, you throw in the towel on the shipyard, and was that a hard conversation with your wife? That when you had it, how did you? Because I think that a lot of people, test the waters. They see that it's there, but you had one kid at the time. Obviously, another came. But how did that go down? Was it a difficult conversation?
It wasn't a difficult conversation. We're all firm believers that we do everything by faith. It's not something that we're just she knows that I spent time doing it before. It wasn't something that I just woke up overnight and say, all right, I'm leaving. But it happened. It transitioned over the course of a few months. To say, hey, I'm leaving. Because I used to joke about it. I'm not gonna stay here long, anyways. But it was just one of those things. Like, hey, if you leave, what about this? What about that? And as long as I had an answer for everything that she was asking, I think I was fine. So she did support me in the journey.
You talked about YouTube University and just learning because there are things that you didn't know as a business owner, and you're still educating yourself, I think, on a frequent basis. What are some of the ways that or specific things that you would search for to help you as someone who was new to business then and now?
It was everything. I mean, from learning how to wash a car correctly. Some guys like to wash a car from top to bottom. And then some guys like bottom to top. Some guys like the 2-bucket method, where you have your clean water, then you have your dirty water. But it was one of those things I had to find out what works best for me, and also how I can, be efficient. And studying on YouTube was kind of one of those things that, kind of helped me get started to say that I can do this, because there was a lot of guys that I thought was successful on YouTube and they was doing it for a living. And that also gave me a sense of, hey, I could do this too.
What's the number one challenge that you face right now with your business as you're moving forward?
That's a good question. Well, I think majority of it right now is, I don't have that what we call corporate clientele. Before the pandemic, even during the pandemic, before the pandemic, I had like a couple little contracts, things of that nature. So right now, we used to call that wholesale work. So right now, all I have is straight all retails, which is just one-on-one with direct customers. So
What's
contract, you of course, you have guaranteed, set amount of money coming in every month. So,
but that's something that you've tried to fix in the past. It's something that you've tried to encourage people to do. Why do you think people just aren't pulling the trigger on that and becoming clients? Because I mean, you're trying to do fleet work, you're trying to do a ton of corporate work. Is it just what do you think it is?
Well, I think now, I mean, you got to look at the pandemic. I can't find workers. I do have workers, but you can't find workers. You don't have, some people also tighten up their own budgets. So what used to be important or what is not important anymore. Now it's more of a, if something happens, can you fix this for me?
Interesting.
So with that, you wear a ton of hats. You have trouble finding people to work for you. What are some of the things that you have used to help automate your process in terms of like booking, reminders, invoicing? Do you turn to anything in particular that has really helped you along the way to automate your business processes?
Yeah, so I do have a WinMerge student in the background that's working for me who does a lot of marketing and a lot of blogging and research for me. And then, like I said, I switched from the landline to the cell phone. So the cell phone allows me to schedule easier if I'm, on a job, in between a job, or just on a run. Someone calls, I can schedule from an app. So, being able to streamline and schedule that way has been very helpful. So it's kind of like this one app basically is my office assistant without having an office assistant.
What's the name of the app?
It's called You're Able.
Because you are able.
You are able.
What's the last thing that you said no to?
I said no to someone pooped in the car. Yeah, we did one, and it's kind of one of them things like you're gonna pay the price or I'm not doing it.
Like their kid, or like they went in to see if you would do it? Like
I don't know who did it, but it's one of them things, man. You get, sometimes you gotta raise your hand. All money ain't good money, so I gotta say,
what would be the price for that?
I told her $450. It's a biohazard, human waste. I got to throw away everything. That's time. You name it.
At least we're in the world where wearing masks is appropriate, so you could have that.
The mask is one thing, but when you start throwing away equipment, throwing away stuff that you're using, that's taken away, and then the time that it takes, it's like, it don't really.
This is the question that we were trying to get the answer to that you asked, Tim. Like, what's the weirdest thing?
Right.
There it is, right there. $450 to clean up crap.
Yeah. So like do places like Uber and Lyft, do they have a monthly allowance that drivers get to have their cars cleaned?
I explored that early on. I think they did. But at the time, I know Williamsburg was still growing into that market. And now,
yeah, I think that for a long time, there was like 2 Uber drivers in Williamsburg.
They're right. Exactly.
What are we up to now, like 3 or 4?
I don't know. You probably got a handful now. Still quite a few out there, but we get some of those. We get some every couple months, but they kind of always do the same.
Well, the Ubers, the DoorDashes of the world, the Postmates of the world, they appear to be just absolutely annihilating business and doing significantly well. I have and look, I'm not going to say that I haven't ordered over the last 10 years, because obviously I have, like everyone else, I think. But what's interesting to me is I think historically these delivery drivers, maybe their vehicles were looked at in a little bit more of a way to make sure that they were clean, right? Where your Domino's of the world would say, hey, make sure go get your vehicle clean, or they do something to make sure that they're clean. Put this, this pizza box is going to go into a pizza bag, which has been cleaned, and we have to clean them every night. I question almost daily, not daily, because that would mean that I'm ordering daily, but some people show up to your house and they deliver your food, and you don't have to see them, right. But that bag or that food bag that isn't going into the food, the nice clean food bag, it seems like there's the cleanliness isn't there anymore. So it would be advantageous, you would think, for the DoorDashes, the Postmates, the Uber Eats of the world to have an allowance for people to do something like that so that the customer feels a little bit safer, I guess. But I don't know. It seems, I don't know. Have you guys ever ordered food and you just see the person pick up the bag and like they bring it and you're like, well, I'm looking at that car. I can't see the inside, but I'm questioning it. Like
thought out chicken, red meat leaking through the packaging and whatnot.
Yeah. I got a fry missing or something like that.
You know, people talk about the bag opening and people going and eating the food out of that. I haven't had that. You are seeing a lot of businesses that are either tying it in a way that they, you know, that you can't get it open, or like they'll put a sticker over the top of it. You know, that's been a good one. But you know, how clean are these people's cars? And you would think that that would be something that would be valuable, but maybe not. Maybe the bottom line is just get it out there and who cares?
Right. Yeah. And then, you know, like I said, I know I explored an option before, but I just think it's not enough around here. You know, we may see them if they got a problem.
But the people transportation aspect of it, they at least get a rating on like an Uber or a Lyft or something like that.
Right.
Where if the car is dirty and it goes below a certain amount, that person gets demerit points and they get fired, I guess. But
yeah,
I guess the food delivery aspect of it, is there that system out there where you're like, yo, this guy's like, I think this guy's car is clean because I got this little, you know, on my bag.
It should be, because you see these cars, but sometimes you got to think now, a lot of restaurant owners are driving their own personal cars to deliver. So I've seen cases like that where the car is like, oh, who are you? You know, so.
Yeah. And with that, I mean, I would almost want to go after like a corporate decision maker to make sure that, hey, you send me the money, and then each you tell me the names of the people that have an allowance, because if people are driving around in dirty cars, they would probably take that allowance that they get, and that's just extra revenue on the top for them, and never get the car cleaned.
Right.
In the background, Gavin says, Gavin is our like go-to guy who gives us all of great insights into our conversations. He's behind the screen. And there's a way that Tim describes him, but I can't remember what it is. But anyway, he says
Young Jamie.
Young Jamie, yes. Uber Eats allows consumers to rate Uber Eats driver. This feature helps drivers as well as customers who order on Uber Eats to ensure fair delivery. This concept enables Uber Eats drivers to deliver the order on a time so that they can get good ratings from their customers. The rating can be a thumbs up or a thumbs down. I don't know. I hate that a lot of these things you have to tip beforehand, so you don't even know how well the person transported it. That was the thing that I liked about Postmates, is you could tip them afterwards. But where I live now is different than where I lived before with Postmates, and Postmates doesn't really deliver to where I am, which I got to go with DoorDash. Ugh, what a racket. Tim, what do you think the future is for you? I mean, is it something that do you build a family business where you're trying to give it off to your kids? Do you try to sell it? Do you just do this for a little bit and then retire? Like, do you look at stuff like that?
Yeah, I do. I would love to, of course, I would love to expand. I was trying to expand a little bit in 2020. We was testing the Richmond market a little bit from May to up until February. And then we kind of scaled back a little bit from that market. But, you know, I would love to turn it over to my kids. You know, we have a joke around the house, who's going to take it over, who wants to work in it. Unfortunately, little KJ, he's only 3 right now, so he don't have a clue what's going on. But he does love to wash a car. For some reason, he still loves it and tries to help out where he can. And Antonia loves to help, too. She's only 7, about to be 8. So I'll eventually love to, you know, take it on and give it to one of them, or, you know, the option of selling it. I would love to, you know, the time hasn't come, you know, selling it is also in the near future as well.
How is the community of car detailers? Are they a tight-knit community where if you're overbooked, would you refer that to someone else, or is it more of a cutthroat community? You don't have to name names or get anyone in trouble or anything.
It's fine. Well, you know, I find that it's a combination of both, and I say that because, you know, locally you have a bunch of guys that probably been here before me. You have a bunch of guys that, you know, probably started here or was born here, I should say. You know, they see it as competition, you know, or they see it that, you know, I don't want to say hate, but it's like, you know, where did that guy come from? in such a short period of time. So, and that's from coast to coast. I'm part of that network, and that's from coast to coast. It's a little it's a competition for the main part, but you'll get some personal. I don't like you just because I don't. You'll get that little stuff, but here it's so small that whether we know it or not, we all share the same customers or in some form or fashion. I'm the type of person that I don't throw shame at nobody just because they missed a spot or they did something wrong or vice versa. I always show love no matter what it is, because if we're fighting, the customer wins. And that's one thing that I always try to preach, and I hope they all understand it, that, if we're fighting, we're going to, point fingers at the next person. Just remember, it comes back around. And I think I proved that over the past 5 years. I have no reason to fight or compete when there's enough cars that we all not going to be able to touch. So,
but I think historically people talk about competition as something that is because there's only so big of a pool, right? And so you got to think that a lot of these people, especially in your type of business where there is only so much manpower, there is only so many vehicles that are available, that you are, as the new guy or anyone coming on the block, they're potentially taking away, cheddar from them. And I understand and I grasp it, but I think, as you're kind of saying, is, well, is it? Are we really competition? Are we really going after the same people? Is there a way that we can work together? And I think historically that's something that people did not really embrace or endorse. It was always like, I'm just going to go do that too. And I think there's probably a niche in there that you've established and realized that's done well for you. That's completely different for someone else, that you guys could kind of just, you take this one, work together, and all sides of it work, right? You do the Tesla work, you do this, this type of work, or whatever it is, this one's soft paint. Okay, well, I don't want to work on soft paint. I want to work on this other thing. So if you give me all these, I don't really want to do this thing. I'll give you all those. And so it's interesting how competition is the thing that a lot of people talk about, when I think it's really irrelevant conversation, that it should be on the back burner in many ways.
Yeah, because I think about like the beer community here in Williamsburg. All those guys
gonna drink.
Yeah, I mean, but all those guys talk, and all those guys have their certain beers, but they also network, and a lot of those guys have a lot of things they do together, and it's just interesting how what some can say is competition, but others can say, hey, that's a good group.
And when they do those collaboration efforts, it helps everybody.
There you go. Yep.
It's an interesting way to put it on with the beer community, because I don't think a lot of people think about that. But I mean, like, there is, right? And and honestly, think about the coffee community that came up too. Well, let's stick with the beer community. I mean, what are you really diving into? Like, what are you really competing against in the beer community, right? Is it the Budweisers of the world? Is it the the Trulies of the world? I mean, you're competing against those people. So anything that you can do to pull that away, if you're in the buy local movement, I think would be beneficial for you.
Right. Yeah, and I agree. Yeah, because like I said, even like where my location is, you got two beer companies walking distance between each other. Just like right now, I have another detail shop within walking distance of my business. I'm constantly getting asked, because that guy just came on the road probably about over the course of the year. How's that affecting your business? Well, it's not affecting my business. He's just enhancing the car community, as if I'm doing the same thing. I have nothing negative to say. He's not affecting any work from us. I'm not taking away from anything from him.
Competition makes people stronger, right?
That's what they say.
Yeah, big wrestling fan here, as you can see by the Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson poster behind me. Wrestling, WWE.
Okay.
Yes, I'm 37 years old and I still watch wrestling. Yeah, please all the jokes, throw them at me. The greatest wrestling time period is when you had two wrestling organizations that were competing against each other at the exact same time on Monday nights. The ratings were like 3 to like 7%, maybe even higher than that, of a ratings per night, which was just ridiculous for ad revenues and things like that. And so that was the best thing, right? And so I would be willing to bet too that when you watch, March Madness or you watch football games, when you have competing games, they probably do better against each other because you have to pick one, and people are going back and forth, and so their ratings are higher like that. And so it's interesting that competition in a lot of these cases actually gets more money out of people, yet we complain about it as something that's not super helpful to a business.
Right. Yeah, which is true. And that's why I said before, when we fight and we're feuding, the customer wins. We don't have to do this thing. And if we all, like I said, we all going to share the same customer somewhere or another. Someone may not have put on signs. Someone may know how to put on film than the other. Someone may can paint cars. I mean, someone may can take a whole truck bed. You just name it. We all bring something different to the table, that we can enhance the whole car community. Am I opposed to work with anyone? I work with anyone. My friends are my wife and my 2 kids. You know what I mean? So that's my muscle right there. So to be competing over some cars, no man. We can compete on other things, but cars not going to be one for me.
Yeah, so with that, the whole team type of mentality that you have, I'm interested on your take. As you're developing your team at iShine, and if I remember right, you took your basketball team state champions. We was
runner up, state runners up.
Runner up.
Yeah, I was runner up. So and even that, was where one of the ways I started networking, but also, it was a fun run, great group of guys, and I loved the game, but while I was focusing on basketball, the business was suffering.
Yeah, but I'm curious about how, what things have you learned as being a successful coach to help you building a team within the business?
And I'm glad you asked, because that's actually one of the things that I had to focus on in 2020 and coming into this in 2021. The technical side of me was me being a player. The business side of me is the coach. So, I had to get out of the player role and get into the coaching role, which leads into the business owner and making sure things are running the way they should. So one of my good friends who's out of Jacksonville, Florida, his name is Mark Elliott, he kind of made it make sense to me because I was overlooking it. I was trying to be always the technician. I wanted to be the best, the best detailer around town and all that other good stuff. But as I was coaching, as you mentioned, I had to really think about it. When I was coaching, the business was suffering because I was a coach and a player, the player coach, if you call it.
Right.
So being able to shift out of that player side role has helped me build that team and look at,
Because I would imagine that's got to be tough, right? You hire a new employee, you know how something needs to be done in order to get the outcome that you're expecting. Yeah, but at the same time, it's like, but you got to keep him in the game so that he can figure this stuff out. So, yeah, was that difficult for you to purposely put yourself on the bench so that you can let these players play?
Yes, it was. It really was, because this guy, he came with some experience, and of course, anybody right now on a resume, hey, I got experience, and of course, you can say somebody, the company failed, so it's not around anymore, so they can have anything on a resume, but to actually see someone actually in person, and that's what I try to do. I give everybody a fair shot that want to work, but if you don't, come through and don't do the work, then you're not going to measure up to anything. But just having that faith again, I'm back to the faith part. Having that faith really has allowed me to trust that person to say and believe what they say they can do it. And that's all I've done as far as, I got two full-time guys and one part-time guy now, including myself. And that was all trust. It was, I didn't really go for the technical aspect because, what we do, if you want to learn, you can do it anyways. So it was just one of the things to trust that person going to show up and work when they said they're going to come. They're not going to steal out of somebody's car. They're not going to damage a car. So things of that nature was pretty much the biggest thing that I had to really have faith in.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's interesting. One of my favorite book is a book called North by Scott Jurek. It's where he runs the Appalachian Trail, which is about 2,200 miles. And he's trying to compete to do this in the fastest known time of all time. If you've never read it, I definitely recommend you doing it. I've told Tim to read it. He's read it. I've read it 3 times. And what's interesting is, yes, it's a story about running the Appalachian Trail, but so much of it is a team aspect of it. And while he's the one physically running, he has to trust all these other people that they're going to do the things that he needs them to do. So his wife is someone who is going to a series of different stops to replenish him of food and drink and clothes and things like that. He has all these other people that are friends throughout the way that come in and help him in different kind of ways. And so this guy, Scott Jurek, who does end up getting the record for running the Appalachian Trail in like 46 days or something like that, he has to trust a bunch of people throughout time, just like you have to do in business. And so I always like to recommend that book to people where it has nothing to do with business, but if you really think about it, it has a ton to do with business. And I think people need to stop reading business books per se and find books like this that can really tell a story that has a ton of impact on trust, on team building, and finding the right people and relationship building, and then grit, pushing through something where you're running 35 to 60 miles a day. That's business. If you think about it, that's life. And so it's a big impactful book for me. And I think everything that you've been talking about even today is really around what this guy did in this race, for 46 days, a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I know one of the biggest the challenges for me as I brought on folks was letting them fail, or not wording an email or wording something the same way that I would do it. It's just resisting those good, happy to glad type of changes that what they're doing is still really effective, and it's good enough. Yeah, and I'm not suggesting that you have a good enough vehicle in terms of cleanliness, but giving people that work for you the opportunity to learn.
Yeah, learn and also to grow.
Right.
The overall planning. Like I said, it's bigger than I always say. It's bigger than a car wash. Because we're making an impact on somebody's life, on their car, and I take pride in that. Because I don't want to just be the car wash guy on Moretown Road. Like I said, I'm a people person, and you won't believe how emotional people are tied to their cars, and take great pride and let somebody know how emotional you are and how attached to it. It's my job to make sure I come and deliver, and make them feel good about their car. We always say it's just imagine how you feel about your car when it's clean is a lot different from when it's dirty, and we've got that compliment a lot. Hey, this is the same car, but just having it clean, professionally clean, they feel a sense of pride and joy to say, hey, this is really a nice car, like the way I bought it. So,
is there something that you did in that realm, Tim, to trust those teammates, to be able to believe in them, to go through it? And because I think that's something that I think everyone wants it so that they don't have to do all the work, right? And I think everyone truly maybe not everyone, but a lot of people want to be able to have someone else be able to do some of the work that they don't want to do, or so that they can grow, et cetera, et cetera. Is there any kind of tips or tricks that you used, or just believe that it'll get better?
Well, I think that it's both. Yeah, one, you have to, like Kenny was saying, you got to trust. And two, it really, and me asking myself a question of, is this going to change the outcome? And so either one, it's not going to change the outcome, and it will,
as in not piss off the client,
or closing a sale, or just a conversation that will be forgotten about in 2 weeks. No one would even remember. So, and then reminding myself, it's like, look, I have to stay focused on building the business and moving the business forward, as opposed to working in the business and being that technician that Kenya was talking about. So having that trust, and what's the word? and then evaluating what's the worst case that could happen. If the absolute worst case happens, this is what's going to be the outcome. And chances are it's never going to get close to that anyway. So that's where I mean in terms of allowing that person to fail and then growing from that. And then watching that transition happen over place and watching them grow is really, really rewarding. And
yeah, what I hear out of that too is, picking your battles.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't remember whoever told me that. Things that come to mind are like, don't burn bridges. Learn how to pick your battles, things like that. That's what I'm like hearing in that, and I think that's very, cliche, but very valuable to live like that, because I think it's a difference between saying it and there's a huge difference in actually applying it and doing it. And I think that's where people succeed and people, don't succeed.
Totally agree.
That was good.
It's easy to do the easy things.
So you're saying I have to go run?
You already ran.
Yeah, you're damn right. I don't have to run again. All right. He was like, hold on a second. This guy is pulling me in. Kenny, what's something we haven't talked about today that you want to talk about?
Y'all touched on a lot of points, man.
We're great interviewers.
Yeah. No, great conversation, man. Of course, it's always a pleasure to get around the legends and the great guys. It's always a pleasure, man. I don't know, man. I think y'all touching a lot. I'm just excited to be on the show. I tease you, Zach, about not having me on the show, but hey, thank you.
Okay. So for the record, for the guests that are for the audience listening now and later, Kenya was provided all of the opportunity to be on the show months ago. Heck, even probably a calendar year ago, but he didn't fill out the form that was required or find or the calendar that is there. So I'm pushing that right back on you, buddy, that you had it. So don't throw me under the bus. See, I'm picking my battles.
I give you a hard time. Yeah, I wanted a personal invite because I know you, Zach. Gosh.
And I gave you the personal invite. And then when I was like, yo, are you going to do this? Like months later, he was like, oh, you finally giving me the invite?
Yeah, what's my invite?
Yeah, I gave you that invite years ago. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't understand why you're being like this.
And we're always looking for folks. And oftentimes we're booked out several weeks, if not months in advance.
Oh,
so
cool.
For folks that are interested and want to be on the show, now's the time to fill out that form. You can head to StartWheel.org. And Zach, if you want to toss that link up in chat, you're more than happy to. But this is all about helping people out, helping people succeed. And Kenny, you brought up a lot of great points in terms of what has worked for you, so that other people can do it. And again, we're the beer community, so to speak, that we're there to help each other win and succeed.
Absolutely. I'm
trying to find this picture of you, and I can't find it.
Which one? This one I was a little smaller. You looking for when I had the belt on?
It is the belt picture. That's what I'm looking for, but I can't find it. Man. Do you know what year that was?
Man, that was 2016, I believe.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. What month?
I didn't have no chin hair. My facial hair ain't going on, but
Well, unfortunately, I'm unable to find this in a timely manner. I should have thought of it before.
While you're looking real quick, Zach. So, Kenny, I want to know the way that I wash my car. I want your professional opinion, because I do everything by hand.
Okay.
I spray it down. I use a foam cannon, foam it, let it do its thing, and then I'm a 2-bucket method kind of guy, and that's how I do it.
So what soap are you using?
Oh,
I don't remember offhand. I know that I saw a blog that somebody listed the soaps that they use. So I use one soap for the foam cannon, and then I use another soap when I do it by hand. I got the nice mitt to make sure that I'm not scratching anything, and making sure that I keep the water clean.
So the key is you want to get a pH balanced soap. Doesn't matter which one.
Where should the pH be? Close to 7?
Yeah, close to 7 is possible. But a lot of soaps are nowadays have the words pH balance listed on them. Car Pro has a good one. Griot's Garage has a good one. And there are many others that have a good one. But the readily available one you can find at AutoZone or Advance, which is the Grills Garage. That's a pH balance on there. Stay away from McGuire's Gold Class. It's a great product, but not for a Tesla that's been. Is it coated correctly? So
it is.
Okay, so stay away from that because it's going to be a stripping agent over time. Not now, but over time. And I like to use like a leaf blower to dry it, so minimizing touch as much as possible. So if you have one in the house, whether cordless or wired, see what it do for you. It'll cut down.
That's a good tip.
So the key.
I would imagine. I would love to. I think it would be just cool to watch the leaf blower after ceramic coating put on there, man. It probably is like one of those, just a mesmerizing thing to watch happen.
How long does that? So you just like a normal leaf blower, you do it, or you just keep it on it? Like, what's the?
Yeah, you'll see the water just beating off of there. Just roll off there. Then of course, then we come back with a soft towel to dry it off too.
Yeah,
So you do the leaf blower first, and then a soft towel.
Mm-hmm. This kind of remove a lot of excess water.
And I make sure that I got special towels. And I don't wash them and dry them because then that will take away from the softness and possibly scratch the car. So
yeah, I got I'm trying to get in the Tesla community anyway. So that's the next thing we're trying to toss up, man. Getting more in the Tesla community. So
I just trying to make you proud, man, so that when it's time to take it in, that you're not like, what have you been doing?
I know, man. You'll be all right.
Keep talking. I'm getting close to finding this picture.
You're trying to find my pictures?
Taking forever.
Yeah.
So there was something that we used to do where we would take a picture of someone with a belt when we had this WWE belt that Xerxes Nabong gifted, and we used it as a marketing tool that we would help celebrate and champion local businesses. I hear a lot of people use that word champion now, which is kind of interesting. Those people stealing my stuff as we talk about competition. I can't find it, but it was big because it was different and people had never seen something like that before. And I thought it went well, but somewhere there's a picture of Kenya with the belt because he did something that he had never done before. Do you remember what you did to get the belt?
I think it was starting a business.
Opening the new location, maybe?
Bringing a new location, yeah.
Well, if I ever find that picture, I will be excited to see it. I'm not going to share it because people are like, this is old. But Kenny, it's been great having you on the show today. Appreciate it. And if you guys need your car washed, which everyone does, you should go check out iShine. Any last words, Tim?
No, man, it's great catching up, Kenny. Man, it's been too long.
Yeah, likewise.
All right, y'all. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next Thursday. Peace and pancakes.
So long.
Later.